We initialize our node package with npm init-y. So let's say we have a source directory with some TypeScript files. Assuming we have a simple hello world example, we can't run the file because Node only understands JavaScript. So let's install Babel to convert it, as well as the command line interface, and the TypeScript preset. We also make a Babel config file. We can then run Babel to convert files in SRC, converting files with the TS extension, which runs into an error because Babel does not understand TypeScript, which we can fix by adding the TypeScript preset. Now it just prints the converted JavaScript to the console, but we can instead specify the output directory, which means we now have a Node runnable file, which still doesn't work because we have not polyfilled it to work with our Node version, which we can do by installing Babel preset-env and adding it to our presets. And compiling again, it is now able to run with our version of Node. But that doesn't mean it will work for all browsers or versions of Node. But we can target browsers used by more than 0.25% of the population and are still being updated. But just because it can compile doesn't mean that the types are correct. But we can spot these errors with tsc no emit. But it does not know which files to check, which we can configure using tsc-init, specifying our output directory to be lib and our root directory to be src, and setting it to not emit anything by default, which lets TypeScript detect the error. Running commands manually can be tedious. So let's make a compilation script, a type checking script, and run them together with concurrently. Running npm scripts, matching the pattern build, anything. We can now run the whole process with npm run build. Or we can make it build each time the files in src are saved by adding a watch command. However, the compiled JavaScript has no types attached to it, but we can state the expected types by making TypeScript emit declarations, and declarations only. Finally, when we have errors in our code, it tells us where the error is in the JavaScript, not the TypeScript file. We can compile source maps to tell Node where the JavaScript exists in the TypeScript. Now, we can run Node with source maps enabled, and now the errors will be shown from the TypeScript file. So why not just compile with tsc? Well, Babel compiles faster and is more flexible. So even though it takes longer to set up, it will not be a nightmare to use in the future. That's cool and all, but if you want to make a backend in 2 lines of code, you can check out our open source package, EzBackend. If that tickles your pickle, sign up for Alpha at the link in the description.